Thanks for tuning in to Be Kind Connects. I'm your host, Shabnam Islam. And today we have the queen of plant-based consulting and creating connections, the one and only Bonnie Brown. She's a powerhouse in the executive C-suite, shattering glass ceilings and glass labyrinths as the current CFO and co-founder of New Earth Partners and the CFO and co-founder of Passion Placement LLC. With an academic pedigree in accountancy and computer information systems, Bonnie offers her financial and leadership services to plant-based companies and connects individuals to like-minded companies. Welcome to the show, Bonnie. It's nice to have you.
Thank you, Shabnam. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And so most people know you in the financial world, but before we get into talking about that, I want to ask you, how long ago did you start your Veg Curious journey?
Well, I've been vegetarian since I was a teenager. Became vegan in 2004, right around there.
And what inspired that change for you?
It was actually a podcast I was listening to. Somebody gave me an iPod, back in the day of that people actually had iPods.
And, I had
iPod. And I found Colleen Patrick Goudreau's Vegetarian Food for Thought and listened to her podcast on motherhood and maternal instincts. And I went instantly vegan.
Overnight.
Overnight. Yeah, it was instant. After I listened to that, I was just like, oh my God, how did I not know this?
And what was the message in the podcast that actually stuck with you the most?
It was about, the calf being taken from mom and, the little chickens and, what happens to, the egg-laying hens and all of the horrible things that, that I didn't know or didn't let that in yet. So that was what made me take the leap from being vegetarian to vegan.
And that's the key to moving on to that woke state, right? You can't pull that curtain back after you've opened it.
That's right. Right. Yes. And it was, it was just immediately, it's not about willpower. It's not about giving things up. It's about, just doing the right thing. And I just couldn't do it anymore.
That's wonderful.
And pizza was one of my favorite things. I ate that all the time. And
yeah, but now in 2022, with the way that we have nutritional science, I never thought I would eat eggs again. And here I am eating just egg, a few times every week. It's mind blowing.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's amazing how many, there's so many smart people out there in plant science that, if I was going to go back and start over, that's where I'd go. Cause there's so many exciting things happening there.
Well, lucky for us, we know Elizabeth Alfano, and she gives us all the ins and outs of how to invest in plant-based investing. So
yes.
You guys don't know who she is. She was on a recent podcast that we did here. So she's been great.
Yeah, she's one of my heroes.
And she's on your leadership team, actually. So
yes.
let's talk a little bit more about you and your employment platform, Passion Placement. What makes this stand apart from sites like Indeed or Monster or these typical job search platforms?
So this platform is solely for companies that are working to take animals out of the supply chain or advocate for animals, just basically making the world a better place for animals. There's a lot of environmental aspects to it because there's some environmentalists that come at the plant-based space, not necessarily for the animals. So for whatever reason, we don't close out non-vegans, but we do make sure that any company that puts a job on our site is doing just that, working to take animals out of the supply chain or advocate for them. So the people that come to the site, the candidates, they're all mission driven. They're all looking for companies in the plant-based space or alternative protein or advocacy, and so that's what makes it different. And you could go to Indeed and you could never find, a job. Myself, I was looking for a CFO position in a plant-based company, and that was like such a needle in a haystack. And that was before remote was so easy to find. So that was the frustration that started me down that path of creating passion placement.
I love that because prior to founding a Passion Placement and New Earth Partners, you worked in the field of renewable energies or energy for about 15 years as a CFO for companies like Tecogen and American DG Energy.
Yep.
But tell us about your experience as a working woman in the executive C-suite for corporate America. What was that like?
Oh, that was an education in itself. I was literally the only one that made it there in that company. It was totally a man's world. And I took this company and those three companies that you mentioned, Tico, Denmark, and DG, and Eurosite, which was another subsidiary of it in the UK. I took those from being private companies with private equity and raising money that way to public. So we went through the whole IPO process, and that was it was very male dominated. But it's just one of those things. I was in that space for a long time, so I just sort of got used to it. Didn't really think about it, but it was really clear when I was doing the IPO and going out and talking to people in the roadshow, and selling, just sort of selling ourselves on that roadshow. It was obvious that, I was in the minority there.
So you said that you were looking for a CFO position in the plant-based sphere. And so is that what inspired you to make this career change? You just decided, I'm going to create a space for myself.
I was inspired to go and find that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I wanted to leave, the renewable energy space and go into something that was, working to change the world for animals. So that was really what I wanted to do, and started hunting for that. And that was not easy to find. I didn't find it. It was just. So now with New Earth Partners, we created New Earth Partners after Passion Placement. So Passion Placement was put together to help people like myself looking to change or to get, as they're getting started, to find companies that are like-minded, that are mission aligned. Because it's so important to feel mission aligned with your employer. It just makes a huge difference. You're not working just for the money anymore. You're working for the cause. And it's a win-win for the employer and for the employees. So anyway, in talking with employers, it was clear that my skills were still needed, for all of these startups that are trying to raise money, and just get started with their accounting systems. There were a lot of companies that I would listen to them pitch, and they didn't understand their numbers, and they were so brilliant talking about their product and their R&D and what their goals were, but when it came to the numbers, they just fell flat. And it was such a shame to watch people time and time again not get their investment dollars because they didn't know their numbers. So that's really what drove me. I was like, you guys really need to make it. There's no reason why you shouldn't. And so now my mission is to help those companies actually raise money. So help them with their projections, help them learn their numbers, help them identify trends that are exciting to investors, and then help them create their pitch deck and go out and do their pitch. So that that's a lot of what I do. And then I also help them,
So, I
set
mean,
up.
that led right into my next question, because I wanted to know what specific professional experiences from the renewable energy source world do you feel like helped in the development of your passion placement and New Earth Partners. Um, did you ever have a very eye-opening experience while working in renewable energy where you're like, if I run something, I'm never going to do this here?
There were clients that came to the company and they were in the agriculture space, and their mission was to have create this mat that would go on the floor. I think for pigs in gestation crates. So mama was giving birth and keeping the babies warm because babies can't have mom to keep them warm. And that was sort of that line where I said, wait a minute, I just can't do this.
And then I see that your mind started to shift to something else, and that was probably the beginning and the birth of passion placement and New Earth Partners.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, as a consultant and business strategist, what are three key points you would emphasize to entrepreneurs trying to enter the plant based market? We talked about numbers. That's obviously very important, knowing your entry into a specific market. But what do you think people should really come prepared with?
They should know who their market is, and that there's a desire for the product, that they're thinking of creating. Um, they should know that it's if it needs to make money, that they're creating a for-profit versus the nonprofit, and that it can um, be profitable at some point. And um, they should they should have a team in place to help them get there, because you can't do it yourself.
That's so
There's so
right.
many entrepreneurs that try to do everything themselves. And I'll jump into the accounting, and it's a scientist or an engineer that's been doing it, and it's just a mess. I have to fix everything because they figure it's you know I'm just going to do everything myself because I'm bootstrapping, and they can't afford it. So that's and one way to afford that is that I do share with entrepreneurs is using stock options. Incentivize employees to come on board for less than market value by paying them in stock options. And what better pool of people to attract with stock options than those that are mission aligned.
And how do you find that you get plant-based companies to incentivize more people to be a part of their mission, to be a part of their culture, to just be a part of their their bigger focus in this world? What has been
Um,
really successful?
in incentivizing employees,
Mhm.
I think making them part of the team, make this sense of belonging that is so important, and DEI is right at the root of it. Um, Making sure that they're heard, that employees have ideas, all of them do, and you want to make sure they're being heard, and that they feel like they're being heard and that they belong.
What do you feel like so far? Passion placement and New Earth Partners are so new. Passion placement, I believe you created in 2020, and New Earth Partners in 2021.
Yes.
What are the the biggest successes you think you've felt with both of your babies that you've created?
Um, with passion placement, getting over 1,000 jobs was a big hurdle. Yeah, and so yeah, now we're like right around 1,400, and there's so many jobs out there. I really want to see it grow, and just have everybody adopt it. It's got hundreds of candidates visiting it every day, and that feels great for me. It's just so rewarding. So that brings me happiness, and I do get to talk to vegans all day long because it's, what a difference that is from leaving corporate America. Because now
Absolutely.
there's candidates that come to me for help with the resume or just career counseling. Just how do they transition, whatever it is, and I'm there to help. And so that is just such a breath of fresh air. And for New Earth Partners, it's the same. It's getting to help entrepreneurs realize their dream is just it's a dream to be. It's like I created my dream job.
You did create your dream
I
job.
did. I
And
did.
you help others create their dream jobs, and I think that is probably one of the most beautiful things you can do, because you bring in camaraderie, teamwork, and really it's the element of if we elevate one, we elevate the other and we rise together. And I think that's just it's a really different mindset that I think we need to have, that kind of global shift and that global change. And seeing you implement that into your mission and your values is really a beautiful thing. So thank you
Oh,
for that, Bonnie.
thank you.
But so let's talk a little bit about New Earth Partners. I understand that New Earth Partners works strategically with plant-based companies and entrepreneurs. But what are your thoughts about working with non-plant-based companies who are aiming to enter the vegan sphere or completely shift their business model?
So I think if they're shifting their business model into the plant-based space, or they're just putting a toe in the water to plant-based space, I'm happy to help them do that. I'm happy to, because it means they're looking at their profitability, and 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 so that profitability is going to be plants instead of animals, and I'm happy to help that because that is that's the mission, getting animals out of the supply chain. So those, I think that those companies that right now have animals in the supply chain, if they're starting to try to go the other way, I'm happy to be part of that and help them.
Right. And we do see big companies like Nestle and Kraft and McDonald's and Burger King starting to make that shift in the plant-based sphere. However, we do start to hear a lot of backlash from vegans saying, oh, well, you're trying to commoditize on this and capitalize on it. But this is the society we live in. So
Right.
what are your message? What's your message to vegans that may be a little bit combative for those that may be trying to enter the plant-based sphere?
I think capitalism isn't going to go away, and so we have to play nice with it. And so the companies like Nestle, they're going to. I actually have a client that just was funded by Nestle, but you know they need to make money. That's their directive from their shareholders. They're public companies; they have to make money, and they have to do everything they can to make that money. So we need to welcome them in to the plant-based space. The more they're doing that, the less they're hurting animals. And once they see the light that this is not a bad way to make money, then it's all upside for the animals. I don't see the downside. And this
Now,
is ultimately, this
yes,
is about the animals. you know
yes,
it's not
yes.
about us personally. And so that's, I just see it as a positive for
And
them.
I think that has got to be the movement of veganism. It can't be an all or nothing battle. It's about an invitation, right? We invite you to share this space with us, learn from us, and how can we better the planet together? Because, you know, every little bit helps. And
Yes.
I think that's important. So if you
Mhm.
could give one final message to anybody who's kind of teetering on the fence of veganism, what would it be?
I think I would probably bring the environment into that argument, because it's so important now. The time, there is no more time for us to think about doing something for the environment. We need to do something, or we're not going to have one. So I think that if it doesn't motivate, if the animals aren't motivating you and your health isn't motivating you, I mean, the environment is just something we can't ignore. And so, anybody with children, grandchildren, they really need to start thinking about, what we're doing to this planet and how we can shift that and turn it around. There's just no ignoring it anymore.
And I know that it's a mission of Passion Placement and New Earth Partners to really help animals and help the environment. But do you have any current collaborations with other vegan companies or organizations that you guys work together to expand your mission?
Um, we work together with Plant Based Food Association. We we're members there, and so we collaborate together there. They and so Glasswell Syndicate. I'm a member of that as well, and I'm on this committee for the Material Innovation Initiative. So there's a committee that joins the two of them together. So I work with that group, and that's been a lot of fun. It brings in the whole material side of things. It's not just food. It's there's a lot of materials out there, and that's just starting, I think, on its journey the way food started, a few years ago, or probably more than a few years ago. But materials are now, like the new thing.
Yeah, we're making things from pineapple husk and corn husk. And I'm like, this is
Yes, it,
fantastic.
I know. Yeah, all this stuff that we would throw away before, and mushrooms. My gosh,
Yeah,
are just like these little powerhouses. Uh,
absolutely. Uh, Shapiro, um, who created
Paul,
yeah, Paul
Paul.
Shapiro created the
Mhm.
Better Meat Co. And what he's doing with plant-based fungi is just a whole other world of amazing.
Yeah,
Now that's
yeah.
that's some meat I'd like to try.
Right, and we will someday.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
Bonnie, I know that uh, Passion Placement, New with Partners, brand new enough, but where do you see yourself in 10 years with these companies? Where do you hope to see them?
With New Earth Partners and Passion Placement. I
Yes.
hope I hope Passion Placement has grown to the point where it is the go-to place for anybody looking for a position in the plant-based space, or animal advocacy space, and employers, all of them that are looking for mission aligned employees, go to that site and list their jobs. That's my biggest wish. That's really what I hope to happen. And New Earth Partners, I just want to see it continue to be helping as many companies, um, as many companies as possible in getting their funding and becoming successful. And that's New Earth Partners' mission, is to just help them from the admin side and the finance side become funded and successful.
And Bonnie, there's no doubt that that is exactly what is going to happen with these two amazing companies that you've created. And
I
thank
hope
you
so.
so much for sharing your time with us and telling us about your initiatives. This has been a great episode, and we thank you so much for joining us today. And that wraps up this edition of Be Kind Connects with the one and only Bonnie Brown. Now, if you're looking for a shift in your career to a plant-based sphere, then you need to check out passionplacement.com today. And I mean today. And if you want to find like-minded and caring employers and employees, check out passionplacement.com. We promise you they exist. Bonnie is a gleaming example of what is available in this world. And to learn more about New Earth Partners and how they can take your plant-based company and your entrepreneurial efforts to the next level, schedule a complimentary financial consultation with the queen bee herself at newearthpartners.com. I see that we can log into your Calendly account there. And to watch this Be Kind Connects episode with Bonnie Brown, subscribe to our Be Kind Vibes YouTube channel. And to stay connected with us and the greater vegan community, give us a follow us on Instagram at VKindApp. And don't forget to download the VKind app today.